seats up front if anybody wants to sit. All right, this is an emergency session, work session for the discussion on the storm cleanup. As it's a work session, there are no public comments. On Wednesday, which was the 18th, the Long Island Garden and Tree Service, who we contracted with, came in and did all of the areas that were on the original bid proposal. They did it for $3,500, which was what was bid on. They actually did more than was even requested. The Friday, which was the 18th, they came in and they did $2,500 worth of additional cleanup, which was authorized at the September 12th meeting. There was still lots of areas in the village that didn't get cleaned up, and therefore that's why we are here to talk about the cleanup. On Saturday morning, I got a call from Gary Garifano, and he called and told me that the pile of trees that they had put up there on the original day of the storm had fallen over, and it blocked total access to his house. His wife was not able to get out. She's an RN at Stony Brook, and his mother-in-law is quite elderly and in poor health. She's been in Stony Brook several times in the last couple of months, and he claimed he needed to have access so that either he could get her out, or if needed, an ambulance was able to come up there. An ambulance has been there several times to take her to Stony Brook. So therefore, we authorized the cleanup of that area. We have gotten, for the final cleanup of all the debris in this village, estimates from 4 different people. 4? Yes, 4. And they are as follows. Long Island Garden and Tree, the bid was $8,300, and that is for the total price, so we already have to take $2,500, which they were originally authorized to do. Long Island Tree Service cleaned up 15 feet from the edge of the blacktop. And actually, in some places, they did more than that. Joe's Tree Service actually had a slightly lower bid, but he only was cleaning 6 feet of the roadway. And therefore, we still had major tree trunks within that 6 feet. Paradise Tree Service, their bid was $12,500, and they were only cleaning 6 feet from the curb. Norse Tree Service was $17,250, and his original bid to do the area on the map was $22,000. So after Long Island Tree did their $3,500, his bid was still $17,250, which, as far as I'm concerned, puts him, Paradise, and Joe Tree out. We've already paid Long Island Tree Service for the original part of the contract. He is due $2,500 additional for the work that he did on Friday in different areas of the village. And now we have a total of $5,800 to clean everything in the entire rest of the village. And that will be 15 feet from the roadway.
Now 35 and 25 is 6. Out of 83 is 23,000 left, 2,300 left.
No, it's
No,
83, oh, sorry, you're right. No, 83
No.
minus 250, 2,500, that.
Comes
already
$5,800.
58. 5,800 for them to
The
do the
83 is on
additional.
top of the original 35.
yes.
But it's, you subtracted 2,500 from it.
So regardless of whatever, he is the lowest bid, and he's cleaning the largest area up. And if he does what he told me he would do, if there was anything extra, he was doing it. As we already now have had 2 disasters with the debris that's here. We've had a fire on Chestnut and Bayview, and now we have a collapse of the pile of trees. And the tree service guy said, his name is Oscar, he said it was because everything was now drying out, and it sits down there and gives way, and it doesn't take much. The point is now, we need to clean up the rest of the village.
I have a question. Sure. When we first put this out to bid, you said we were going to kind of, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was going to be kind of like tiered, where we would have.
Well, we did,
A perfunctory cleanup, and then in the middle, and then everything. And is that the way it went out?
it actually went out that they were to do the areas on the map that were marked on what was originally village property only. The bars, the stairways, Washington Street. And then they added some additional, they added the corner of Bayview and Chestnut. And they did clean up, and they cut the branch that was overhanging Cedar.
Here's my question. When we reviewed the bids, and they came in at 35, and then you were gonna walk around to make sure that they understood what the scope of the job was.
I did go with them, and they did
So-
everything that was on that list and then some.
So this, which sounds like a lot of stuff, if it was able to tumble it over and,
It was higher than my tractor.
so, but yet it wasn't in the original bid. And the reason I'm
No.
asking this, to be honest with you,
No.
is that, contractors are famous for coming in and throwing a low bid in, and they get their foot in the door, and then they say, oh, but you want that, oh, that's gonna cost you. So now, what we're talking about is a total cost that's combined with the additional 25 that we said you authorized, that now, we're now twice what it was. So, like, we went with these guys on good faith, and maybe
They did everything that was in the bid that went out. That did not include all of the areas on the village. That didn't include Birchwood, that didn't include any other street in the village.
so where is this pile of wood? Because I just drove around. Is it just on Highview?
There's still a lot there.
Because when I went.
They actually came in and cleaned up a whole logging truck in order to get it off the road.
Okay, so now, are we, and that would be paid for by the additional 2,500.
No.
They did the
When
work.
did this logging truck come in?
Friday,
Sorry.
No, I'm trying to get a sense of
I don't know
what we
if
have
it
to
was
do.
exactly
and
what
what has
she
to be.
did, I don't know, it might have been.
So, what you're asking us to do emergency basis?
Well, the, cleanup on Highview, yes, was an emergency.
And so they did it,
They did it, and that's part of the $5,800.
all right, and I thought, because, you know, looking at it now, what's left on Highview seems to be entirely going back towards the end of the house at the end, and it seems to be totally on private property.
No,
So the
it's not.
trees and the fallen.
Gary's property
Never on the
starts
street.
at his mailbox. The amount of stuff that's on both sides of the road is before his property starts.
Well, there's a sign that says private property, is that a
That-
demarcation of anything, or is it just where he's?
There is a property that's the house that had the big tree that uprooted.
Well, is it private property?
It is, but all the trees are stacked on the roadway.
But they're not.
They're 4 feet off the roadway. That's not private property.
Well, let's just go by what you said was like what is it, 15-foot rule or something? What did we say? It was gonna-
There actually is no justification for right of way.
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Okay, maybe not justification. There's no definite area that right of way is.
Okay, but at the same time, if you look at those trees, they all, that's why people think we had a tornado. They all got blown in the same direction, and they're enormous trees going towards the house at the end. And they were all to the side. You could see where they were and where they fell. And it looks to me like it's totally on private property. And even if we moved a couple of trees, which I think we should do to be consistent with the rest of the village, I
Well,
think we should.
Norse,
But-
I assume, piled all the trees right on the edge of the road that were in the road.
Okay, I'm just trying to be fair, I'm trying to be consistent. If throughout the rest of the village, we said, here's our operating guidelines. And we're going to do this much, and I'm happy for that, because I advocated that we just take whatever's by the side of the road. In this case, I'm not sure, you know, I didn't see what was there before that tumbled down and was obviously cleared, and I think we should pay them for that, but I just wanna make sure that we're not gonna then go and say, well, we have these enormous trees, and they're way over, they're running parallel to the driveway going up.
Well, we're not even talking 25 or 30 feet, which is where the sign is that says private property. We're talking about what's on the edge of the road, 3-4 feet from the blacktop.
I must have missed that one.
Yeah, I didn't see that much. So,
All right, I'm gonna trust you that we're doing this in a fair and consistent manner, that, just because it seems like we're talking about a lot of money, that some contractor could come in and say, I'm gonna lowball the bid, and now all of a sudden, we're paying a lot of extra stuff.
Well, I have,
Right.
come on, he gets $5,800 to do the rest of it. Here's,
he charged 5,000 to do the whole village, so there's.
no, he didn't, no, he did not charge $5,000 to do the whole village.
Okay,
He
six.
charged,
3,500.
so far, a
5,500
total of 6.
6,000,
To
okay.
do everything, and now it's gonna be.
But
an
he
additional
didn't do
15.
everything, that's the whole
Well,
point.
that's what we're trying to find out.
Yeah,
He
Is
didn't
this-
do the
what
whole
little is
village.
left is almost as much as the original
Right.
cleanup. That's
He
what
really,
said.
he focused on hiking.
And if it's fair, if it's
That's
equitable,
all.
I have no
That was
problem
it.
with it. I have no problem with it, except that,
I-
it does sound, John, I don't know, you seem to be picking up the same thing. It sounds like he did all this work to get his foot in the door, and then for almost the same amount of money, he's just gonna kinda get an extra little bit cleaned up, and.
It's not a little bit.
Okay, well, that's what I guess.
I mean,
that's
it's
what we need.
every other street and every other piece of wood, log, branch that's all over the village.
Okay, so let me just ask you very directly, and I'm gonna trust you.
Okay.
If you say that the amount of work that still is left to be done is roughly the same as what had been done before, then we'll say, okay, the guy seemed to have done well by us before, let's give him the go-ahead, and then we'll have money, assuming we have money, I guess we do, we have money. So,
He told me originally it would take 4 days. He was here for about a day and a half. So theoretically, he's got 3.5 days. 2.5 days, sorry. And he's gonna clean up everything.
I mean, you know, the
There will
total
be no
amount,
question about anything.
okay.
And if anybody has anything that's, in their yard, at the edge of the road, we're not talking about their backyard, 50 feet off the road, but if there's anything there that at this point either I or they have missed, then if they give me a call, I will make sure that it gets taken care of. I mean, how many disasters are we going to wait
What
for
disasters?
before we sit down there and end up with a lawsuit? We've
No,
had a fire,
I
we've
agree.
had this thing collapse. I mean, if this branch on Cedar had fallen down on somebody, it would have killed them.
I'm never gonna say we shouldn't do the cleanup. I don't think anybody in this room would say we shouldn't do the cleanup. We obviously don't wanna be taken when money is so dear to us. So I'm just saying that if this guy, you wanna call him a shrewd businessman, or you wanna call him a typical contractor, or something like that, whatever it is, he came in with a low bid, and he did a very good job, and now we say, okay, you know, because you did such a good job for such a reasonable amount, we'd be happy to continue to use you, which is the way it works, that's fine. I just wanna make sure, though, that this extra amount of money isn't going to go towards a relatively small amount of work, and that's where it's worth it while to come in and lowball the job.
There's still a ton of work.
Okay.
$6,000 to do all that they did, and now $5,800 to do a relatively small
Well, what he's
amount.
saying is that relatively, it's not so small. And
It's
I have
not
no way to know.
$5,800 to do what's left. They already sat down there and cleaned up Highview, for what they did just to get him out. They spent a half a day there.
Okay, so,
I mean, there
You
was,
saw it?
I saw Highview before,
John saw
Yeah.
Highview,
So
so he knows what was.
independently-
However-
Yeah.
all right, maybe
Okay.
I'm missing something
All right,
in the
okay.
facts.
Sandy's saying that she saw it.
yeah, I
so-
saw, you saw
Okay.
it, yeah.
Oh, yeah, but,
Yeah.
okay,
That-
that said,
That's that, though.
that
Yeah.
said, we had them in here to do the majority of the work for $6,000.
They
Yes, there
didn't
is
do
some
the
stuff.
majority, John, they did a
Who did
part
it
of it.
then?
We obviously
Well,
didn't.
They only sat down there and did what was in the bid, originally for the $3,500. And then they did another day's work for $2,500. And I had to stop them because it was all I was authorized.
Right.
So we didn't go over a budget. Now they sat down there and had to come in on an emergency basis, and they were the only ones that were able to come in and do that. I called Norse, and he told me only if he gets that bid, $17,250, was he coming into that.
Harry,
Yeah.
remember you have 3 other bids for the same amount of work that are a lot more than what this guy was charging, right?
That's correct, yes.
So those bids that you presented earlier are all for the same amount of work?
Yep.
All right, so, you know, you're in agreement that the amount of work is considerable and that didn't
Well,
need to
I
be.
mean, they focused in on Highview, so that's where all the money seemed to have gone, right? Which,
All,
Well, you mean the
A lot.
original? No,
Yeah.
it was Chestnut,
yeah.
Bayview and, Bayview and Chestnut, all of Washington,
Sure,
and
but
certain other
where-
parts of it.
No, and they did do a good job.
Yeah.
They
Yeah, they
very
did
good
a great
so I have no
job.
problem with that.
there's still a lot of stuff.
I,
I mean, if you drive around on every street, you'll see, and there are trees that are still down they haven't even gotten to because that wasn't the major concern.
There
I mean, I sat down there and tried to get a work party to go over there on Saturday, and I got accused of sitting here being sarcastic when I asked for workers to come over there. David and I worked all day Saturday and Sunday for nothing. I didn't see you coming to volunteer to help.
No.
I didn't see anybody else volunteering to help.
We hate it. Quit blaming me.
how much were we asking?
$5,800. Long Island Garden and Tree Service, who was originally the winning contractor for the bid that went out in the paper.
Where are we getting the money?
It's
Just
there.
that-
One way or
There's no business.
No,
I think we all escaped from her.
There doesn't seem
Let's
to
hope
be
there's not
anything.
too much snow.
yeah.
might be plowing snow this winter for free.
Somebody write that down.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're gonna help me. And John's gonna be there for my shoveler.
Alright.
So, I make a motion to accept Long Island Garden and Tree, which will be for the additional $5,800 to finish all the work in the village,
15 feet from the roadway.
15 feet from the roadway. He's actually done more than that. I mean, right here on the corner of Birchwood and
Do you have a
Monroe.
second, do you have a second on that motion or not?
I second.
All in favor? Aye.
Alright,
I abstain.
Very good.
Harry,
As,
how many people who voted? Did everyone vote?
It was passed 4-0-1. It's 4-0-2 with one abstention. Okay, so
as this is all we can discuss at tonight's meeting, I make a motion to close the special work session.
I second it.
I need to talk to you.
thanks for